Hey, can you come in here? Move that chair out of the way of the clock. Thank you. Tonight, breaking news. 2 separate crashes send several people to the hospital in southern Illinois. More coming up. And 2 locals are getting a dose of karma following recent offenses. We have the latest next. Plus, after months of collecting donations, Jimmy Dean said the park by his house will be renovated and renamed after his son starting in the spring. We have those stories and more now on a Wednesday night edition of News 24 at 10. And good evening. Thanks for joining us. We have a lot of news to get to, but we begin in Williamson County, where 2 drivers were injured after a crash on I-57 at the 46-mile marker. It happened around 5:06 p.m. tonight. A semi was stopped in traffic entering the way station on northbound I-57. The driver of a Chevrolet Silverado failed to stop, rear-ending the trailer of the semi. Pickup truck David Keith, 26, of Belton, Kentucky, was flown to a regional hospital for treatment of incapacitating injuries. The semi's driver, Louis Fontanez, 41, of Lexington, Nebraska, received non-incapacitating injuries. No charges have been released due to the pending investigation. Both drivers were wearing seatbelts. There were no passengers. Police responded to a single-car rollover on Highway 37 northbound around 5 p.m. today in West Frankfort. It happened just north of Yellowbanks Road. According to officials, there were injuries and air evac was requested. No names have been released. 2 locals are getting a little dose of karma. Devin O'Daniel was injured at the Williamson County Jail after being beat up by another inmate. Investigators arrested the Marion man on Friday for battering his child. That 3-month-old later died at a St. Louis hospital. The state's attorney's office hasn't received an official report about the jail battery. The investigation into the child's death is ongoing. Meanwhile, James Wilson, the former director of the Alexander County Housing Authority, who was accused of causing the Cairo housing crisis, has been ordered to pay $500,000 and will be held liable for $923,007 for travel expenses and other costs. We are still awaiting more information in that case. A Union County man has been arrested again for pornography charges. Charles Gordon of Cobden faces additional charges for taking photos of children under the age of 13. He was originally arrested for other charges of the same misdemeanor in September. To the weather, where after days of cold conditions, the warmth returns tomorrow. Here's Terry with the latest. All right, thanks, Terry. Turning to Johnston City tonight, where after months of collecting donations from friends, family, and local supporters, Jimmy Dean said the park by his house will be renovated and renamed after his son starting this spring. Jimmy said his son, Michael Dean, passed away in 2006 after a car accident. According to his dad, he is still missed by many in the community. Earlier this year, Dean said the city told him he could rename the park after Michael if he raised $15,000 for new equipment for the playground. Now, Dean said he has collected around $29,000. Dean said new equipment has already been ordered for the playground by the city and renovations will start in the spring. He said they are still accepting donations for the park, which are tax deductible before the new year. If you'd like to make a donation, you can contact Jimmy Dean directly at 618-889-5797, or you can drop off a check by the Johnston City Hall. In Springfield, the Illinois Republican Party wants a Democratic state representative to resign. This comes after controversial comments made Tuesday during a debate over the Quincy Veterans Home. Representative Stephanie Kyofit of Aurora made the controversial comments after the House voted to override Governor Rauner's veto to increase the cap on how much the state pays in legal litigation cases from $100,000 to $2 million. The legislation aims to help families affected by the Legionnaires' outbreak in Quincy, where 13 residents died and dozens more were left sick. Kyofit's comments were aimed at Representative Peter Brin, who had just argued that lawmakers didn't know how much the bill was going to cost. On Monday, she filed a motion to expunge the comments from the House record, which passed anonymously. Kyofit apologized on Twitter Tuesday. Representative Breen responded, saying lawmakers need to be held accountable moving forward. He finished by saying he wonders if the General Assembly has the character to divert state politics from its current path of moral and ethical ruin. Kyofit said in her apology on Twitter that she feels very passionately about what happened at the Quincy Veterans Home and would never wish harm on anyone's family, adding that her attempt to illustrate empathy was not conveyed properly. A group of environmentalists say power plant owners need to do more to prevent groundwater contamination. Their concern is with coal ash ponds, where power plants put the remains of their burned coal. The groups co-wrote a report using newly released data from the federal government. The report claims 22 of the 24 coal ash dump sites in Illinois with available data had released toxic chemicals into groundwater. The federal government required power companies to start collecting groundwater data near these coal ash ponds in 2015. The first batch of data became available earlier this year. Environmentalists say the chemicals can cause a number of health issues like heart disease, brain damage, and cancer. Of the 24 plants listed in the report, the only one in our area is in the Marion Power Plant by Lake of Egypt. The report's author says there's at least 6 toxic chemicals in the groundwater there: arsenic, cadmium, cobalt, lead, selenium, and thallium. Thallium, a chemical that used to be used as rat poison, was found at concentrations up to 150 times what is considered safe. Don Gully, president of the Southern Illinois Power Cooperative, said that the groups mischaracterized how much the power plant runs. He said the plant follows the law and there's no threat to local drinking water. Here's the latest in national news in your Fox News Update.
In Fox News. New leadership. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. Nancy Pelosi poised to become Speaker of the House again.
She's unopposed.
I'm very proud.
A majority, 203 Democrats voting for Nancy Pelosi to be Speaker when their party takes over the majority in the House next year. But not all are on board. More than 30 Democrats opposing her.
Are there dissenters? Yes, but I expect to have a powerful vote as we go forward.
Pelosi will ultimately need to win over a majority of all House members. That magic number is 218. That means the California Congresswoman could have to win over some of that opposition from within her own party between now and that full January 3rd vote for for Speaker.
Fox's Tom Graham. Despite threats from Arizona Republican Jeff Flake that he will withhold support for any of President Trump's upcoming judicial nominees, the Senate has failed to advance legislation that would have protected Special Counsel Robert Mueller's job. Lawmakers pushing to get a spending plan in place to try to avoid a government shutdown. But President Trump has signaled he's willing to let that happen if he doesn't get funding to continue to build the border wall.
Retiring Speaker Paul Ryan says his House Republicans approved $5 billion for border security.
Our bill contains the president's full request for the border.
There's also drama on the Senate side, with some lawmakers from both parties furious CIA Director Gina Haspel was not sent to brief senators on the agency's findings regarding the murder of Saudi journalist Jamal Khashoggi. Republican Senator Lindsey Graham of South Carolina says he's prepared to slam on the brakes until lawmakers get answers.
Fox's Mike Emanuel on Capitol Hill. This evening, senators moved forward with legislation that would end U.S. support for the Saudi-backed war in Yemen just hours after a closed-door meeting about the Saudi involvement in the killing of Saudi journalist Jamal Khashoggi at the Saudi consulate in Turkey. This is Fox News.
Stop.
You have made it to BFJ Interiors in West Frankfort. Follow me inside and take a look around. Welcome to our store. At BFJ Interiors, we keep up with the latest trends. Farmhouse, contemporary, or transitional, we have just what you are looking for. BFJ Interiors is located in downtown West Frankfort. Come visit our store.
Ford Truck Month. Get 0% for 60 months plus $27.50 bonus cash. Or choose $11,550 total savings plus $750 bonus cash on select models.
Take the floor somewhere unexpected. Everything you need is at your fingertips. And at the Home Depot, on-trend styles with innovations to make it pet-proof. Make it life-proof. Make it waterproof. Make it beautiful. The Home Depot has everything you need to make it yours. Get a free pad upgrade on any premium brand carpet purchase. The Home Depot. More saving, more doing.
You do have a choice when it comes to healthcare. Southern Illinois GI Specialist in Carbondale is committed to make screening colonoscopy affordable to all, especially for patients with high deductibles and no insurance. One flat affordable fee covers all costs, including pathology services. Board-certified gastroenterologist Dr. Zohor Magdoum, specializing in all GI procedures. Cost-effective outpatient procedures performed with the highest quality. Southern Illinois GI Specialist, Carbondale.
Introducing the day's biggest stories before you head out. So turn up the volume and don't miss the Morning Rundown. Weekdays at 7 and 9 on The Mix. All right, thanks, Terry. Drug abuse can lead to severe health problems, especially if needles are involved. The SIU School of Medicine plans to study the issue alongside the University of Chicago. Brent Van Ham, Research Development Coordinator at the SIU School of Medicine, said a dramatic rise in HIV cases 3 years ago in rural Missouri and Indiana caused them to examine the issue deeper. Van Ham said the first part of the study was talking to law enforcement and health officials about the drug epidemic. Now they're looking for people who are active drug users. The hard part is getting them to participate. The SIU School of Medicine is focusing on the southern 16 counties. They're stopping at spots in southern Illinois, including Marion, on Wednesday to recruit. And ultimately, he hopes the study will expand access to medical services for those dealing with drug addiction. Organizers of the study are looking for participants. Requirements include being at least 15 years old, an English speaker, able to provide consent, and actively using drugs. Call 314-884-0159 for more information. We do have some news just in on I-57. Another vehicle incident, this time a vehicle fire, has shut down one lane of interstate... okay. Just learning something else. Okay, this is Interstate 55. This is in Missouri, so a vehicle fire has shut down one lane of Interstate 55 southbound at mile marker 65 in Missouri. So if you are headed that way, be sure to be on the lookout for that. Meanwhile, wrapping up the newscast, in Marion, the weather has many animals looking for shelter to get in and out of the cold. Wednesday morning, Marion resident Jason Powell woke up to a knock at his door and found an unusual guest. Powell took to Facebook, showing the buck hanging out at his back door. You can see that on the video below. You can hear the buck knocking on the door with his antlers. At about 5 o'clock, or at about 5 minutes into the video, Powell is forced to open the door to scare off the buck, who kept knocking on the glass. We have much more news, sports, and weather tomorrow morning on the Morning Rundown, and we're back here with more news, sports, and weather tomorrow on News 24 at 10. Thanks for joining us.
Bigger, bolder grill combos are back. Now that's